I caught my long-distance wife cheating after I went to surprise her. Then she just abandoned our kids, divorced me, went to live with her affair partner. Then came back begging to be a mother to my kids, who also got fed up with her BS. Now she falsely accused me of DV to get some last satisfaction. But it didn't go well. It was Labor Day weekend in 2021. My wife was in TX for training in the Air Force, we both were in. We lived in Ohio at the time. During her training, she would call the kids 7 and 3 at the time and me every day and stay on the phone for a long time just talking about anything. Then suddenly she started talking less and less. Still daily, but only 2 minutes if that. She would say that she had to study for tests. Then she started missing days completely. After the third time, I called her later and asked WTH was going on. She was utterly wasted, extremely drunk on the phone. I got mad and hung up. The next day, she says she needs space. Like I'm the bad guy here. We barely talked for 2 weeks after that. To backtrack a bit. We married when I was 25. She was 23. Dating for 4 years before that. When we were dating, she went to visit her friend in Ka. Her friend married a Marine and moved there. Well, during that time, she was also going to meet a guy she had never met. Someone her friend wanted to set her up with. So for the entire 2 weeks, she was cheating on me. So we broke up for about a year. I connected back with her again, and we got back together. About 2 years later, I got married. During our marriage, she completely changed. She denied me intimacy and affection. When she rejected me, I would naturally get upset. I would say mean things to remind her of what she did, because I knew it would hurt her. Fast forward. We had 2 children. Our marriage went on with hardly any intimacy or affection from her. I would ask her to kiss me. After our second child, we were pretty much roommates. I was extremely depressed, and it was difficult to get out of bed and do anything. I realized I wasn't the father I wanted to be, not the husband, and sought mental health. So back to the time after we started to stop talking after our argument. I thought the spark had been missing in our relationship, and I blamed myself for my depression and anxiety. So I got a babysitter for the long weekend. She had mentioned that she wanted to get away and go camping by herself. So I took it as an opportunity to surprise her so we could spend the weekend alone, just trying to get our love back to what it was before marriage. I went to her hotel on base and talked to the hotel staff beforehand to let them know I wanted to surprise her. They were okay with it after I showed proof of who I was. I got an extra key card, went into her room before she returned from training, and was going to surprise her when she came in. When I got into her room, I saw a large box of condoms on her nightstand, many empty alcohol bottles in the trash, and her counters. I also saw her wedding ring in her bathroom on the counter, as if the rings were stored there. I was devastated and in shock at what I saw. I hid in the closet, and when she arrived, I jumped out and said surprise. I was just still in disbelief that this was happening. Her response was, "You're not supposed to be here?" Then she locked herself in the bathroom. She texted a school friend, a girl, to come. The friend rushed to her room, as if it seemed like I was hurting her. To be clear, I had never raised a hand or even got close to it. Her friend left, and she came out of the bathroom. I demanded an explanation. All she could say was, "I'm sorry." It wasn't in an apologetic way, more of an "I'm sorry you had to find out this way." I left immediately, took a car to the airport, and bought the first ticket home. I could only do the bare minimum for my kids the entire weekend because I was crushed. Monday rolled around. I called, and she said she wanted a divorce. I was just in disbelief and agreed without a discussion. The only thing I could manage to get out was, "I'm taking the kids and moving back home. I was medically retiring from the military before she would return from training." Her response was, "Okay, can you take the dogs too?" After we split and I moved back, I did some digging. I checked our bank account and saw thousands of dollars at bars and other places being spent by her during the time she was in training, while telling us she was studying. I also checked the phone records. I couldn't see the messages, but I could see one number that kept coming up all day, every day, back and forth. That ended up being the guy she was cheating on me with, no surprise. We finalized our divorce in February of this year without fighting. Since then, she has skipped her time with her kids twice to go on mini vacations with this guy. He lives in DC 7 hours away from her. We live in Mo 6 hours from her. In our divorce agreement, she can come to see the kids whenever she wants during the week if she clears it with me first. She just did that for the first time 2 weeks ago. Since February, that is the only time she has done that. When she calls the kids, and they see she is in the car, or at a place they don't recognize, they ask her where she is. She admits she is with her new BF. She drives or flies to see him instead of the kids. Last Thursday, she called me and said she messed up, missed the kids and me, and wanted to get back together. I tell her that she has to agree to go through her therapy and marriage counseling. It sounded like things were going to get better. 2 days later, she sent me a message telling me that she wasn't going to do any of that. This guy makes her so happy, and she is now engaged to this guy. My life was crushed again. The entire year, I have constantly been crying and lying in bed. Thank God for my family because I couldn't do this without them. I just feel so worthless. I can't connect with anyone I try and date because I am numb now and have commitment issues. I can't find a job, and I bought a house that I now have tapped into my savings to start paying for. I constantly have morbid thoughts of being better off dead. Then I hate myself more for thinking that because I have 2 amazing kids to care for. I feel like nothing can go right, and I'm going to lose my kids, my house, and eventually myself. I have been talking to a therapist, but I don't know if I feel any different. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm not sure what I'm looking for here, but I thought maybe if I got my story out there, it would have some kind of relief. Update. 6-month update. Hello, everyone. I tried very hard to resist. I did. In January of this year, she messaged me asking to get back together. She and the other guy broke up. She called the kids and apologized for not being the mom they needed and spending all her free time with the other guy. She also told them we were getting back together without me saying we were. I told her that she needed to seek therapy and many other things. This is the 3rd time she has done this. She even reached out to my family and apologized to them. The kids and I were going to Slick City the following weekend, and they asked her to come. I am trying to remember if she had said she would or not. Friday rolls around, and she tells them she isn't feeling well and won't be coming in. They are okay with it. When we arrived in the parking lot on Saturday, the kids wanted to call her again. We all video chat her, and she is totally fine. She was walking into a restaurant all dressed up. In the background, we hear the other guy's voice. We all were pissed off, and my oldest hung up on her. 2, maybe 3 weeks later, she calls, crying and apologizing. She is asking for me back again. Is the 4th time a charm? She explains she broke up with him again because he is so controlling. She tells me that he has all her passwords and a key to her house. They joined bank accounts, and she is deep in debt because he has maxed out her credit card after he maxed out 2 of his. She said he told her he was flying to see her, and that she better be there to pick him up, or he was Ubering to her house. I told her to change her locks and stay at a friend's house. Later, she calls, says she got the locks changed, and is driving to her parents' house 6 hours away, in the same town I live in. She asks if she can have lunch with me the next day. I stupidly agree. I then let her have dinner with the kids and me that night. Then I let her stay the night no SX, though. I felt like everything was going great. It seemed like we were a happy family again. She leaves Sunday, then drives back Wednesday for her weekend. She stays over again, I know. I can see all the frustration brewing. Things were not going great this time. She seemed very distant. Her communication was not as sweet as the previous weekend, and she barely said anything. She kept asking me if I thought we could do this. I was getting frustrated because I could see that she was pulling away. I told her this road would be extremely long and filled with counseling and therapy. I told her we needed not to spend overnights together either, and letting the kids see us together so much made them think everything was fine. She ghosted me all day Friday, then finally called crying and said she didn't want to try to work things out. I asked her if she was going back to the other guy. Her tears immediately went away, and she became furious, saying that he was much better than me in every way, and that she never wanted to see or speak to me again. It was such a quick and odd behavior change when I calmly asked her a question. It was such a bizarre lash out and choice of words too. My son comes home with a new phone from her, and I see she has a new phone number. It looks like she is also under the other guy's phone plan. I bet there is something on the phone, so he has more control over her. I don't know why I do this to myself. More importantly, I don't know why I put my kids through it. I am still seeing my therapist and told him about it. I thought I was getting better, but was sucked right back into the circus. A few weeks later, I saw my next-door neighbor on a dating app. I jokingly swiped, and we matched immediately, to my surprise. I told her that I was shocked and wasn't serious about matching. She made it very clear that she was interested in me. She is gorgeous, and has always been pleasant to my kids and me. We started dating. I made her fully aware of everything I had been through. She was okay with it, but, of course, worried about me going back again. I am too. I'm confident to say no the next time the ex asks to get back together. This new girl is great and highly understanding. She is very interested in wanting to know everything I'm into and trying them if she is not. She hasn't been trying to push me fast into something either. I mentioned that she was already great with my kids before we were dating, but I was not ready to let them see us in a different way than just being neighbors. I told them about a month or more later, and they thought it was an excellent idea. My time with her is helping me become a better version of myself. I'm starting to care about how I look more, completing DIY projects around the house, and, most importantly, playing with my kids more. Edit. I am fully aware of how this makes me look like I am falling for the same BS again. I am seeing a therapist about it and trying to regain my confidence and self-worth. Edit 2. She went away for training in June 2021. I caught her in September 2021, and we were separated then. Divorce was February 2022. Edit 3. We use a co-parenting app to communicate. All other communication is blocked. Update in r/ask legal. The ex-wife made a false DV allegation and didn't show up for the court date. Can I counter this? I have primary custody of my kids. My ex, who lives 7 hours away, tried to take custody by making a false domestic violence allegation against me. Just to be clear, I have never threatened any violence or have been physically violent with her. She is salary, and I am an hourly worker. She knows I would have to take work off to deal with this. I hired a lawyer. My lawyer showed up to court. I was virtual due to living so far away. The ex didn't show up. Then the case was dismissed. This was all in retaliation to my filing a motion to change our agreement for drop-off times because of my work schedule. How is she allowed to pull this crap and get away with it? Can I file anything to recoup those costs? Second story. Wife confessed her cheating after reading my birthday note for her. I acted like forgiving her just to stay with my daughter, making my life sick and miserable now that my daughter is dead. I have nothing remained in this relationship, so I divorced her. Now everyone blames me for divorcing a recently orphaned mom. Some background. I met my wife when she was 18 in college. We immediately fell in love with each other, and we shared lots of things and goals in common. We dated for 4 years until she was out of college, and I had a decent paying job. She was 22, and I was 25 the day we got married. Couldn't be happier. During 3 of these 4 years, we lived together. I transferred jobs closer to where she wanted to go for grad school. It was fairly easy for me, and the company helped with everything, so I didn't think it twice, and we moved into a much nicer apartment. I kept working and moving up in my job while she went to school exclusively. Our first and only daughter is turning 2 this week. Our ex-life had up to now been amazing. Slowed down because of our daughter and how taxing a kid is, but still no less than 4 or 5 times a week. We still find new things to try, and we are big into role-playing, so we kept the fire pretty much alive. The problem. 3 months ago, I found out she cheated on me. It happened during October 2012. She went out for a conference with another 2 classmates. One of them a girl I had already known, and the other a guy she had already told me about. During this week, she did stuff twice with the guy who knew she was married. First time, they fooled around, meaning making out. She masturbated him, and he ate her out. Second time, unprotected sex, all with cream pie included. Effing great. She confessed to me after reading the letter I wrote her for her birthday. She called me on the phone from work, crying and asking me to go home. I thought something was wrong with our daughter, but she was just freaking out, and I couldn't understand anything, so I immediately drove to our place. She broke down and told me she had cheated on me and how much of a piece of SHT she was. I drove off for about 2 hours. I came back and asked for every single detail. We spent 3 hours going over it. She told her version, and then I asked every single question I could think of, which just broke my heart more. I left the house and took the vacation time I had earned so far from work 3 weeks, and pretty much drowned myself in alcohol for 2 of those weeks until my older brother, who lives fairly close and had heard from my wife that I was missing, found me in a cheap hotel room and slapped the SHT out of me. I hadn't touched alcohol in 9 years after having a rough time with it during my teen years. I felt like I just wanted to die. I pulled my SHT together and called my wife. I told her I wanted to work it out for our daughter. It's been 2 months since I came back home after saying I had forgiven her and wanted to work it out so that everything would go back to the way it was. I am doing worse every week at work. I have trouble keeping up with what I have to do. I do not trust my wife at all. I can only think of her and this guy effing. Our SX life is SHT. We haven't had SX since I found that out. We've tried several times. I lose my erection every time. I just look at her and can see nothing but her being F-ed by someone else. My mind goes through every single detail I squeezed off of her during those 3 hours we talked about it. I feel like I can't have sex with her again. I reached my worst today. I went into the shower this morning and masturbated. I started thinking of my wife and this guy, and I couldn't stop. I was angry, and I jerked my DCK until it hurt, and I came. I immediately started crying and felt disgusted at her, at myself, and at what she did to me. I just can't forgive her. I wake up every morning and kiss her like I used to. I make breakfast for her and our daughter. I put up this effing smile and act all like I used to before this. Then I get in my car, drop my daughter off with my sister-in-law, and just effing break down. I cry every day all the way from her house to work. I clean my face in the parking lot. I come back home at 6, and I feed our daughter, who is picked up by my wife at 2. I take her to bed by 7:30, and then I have dinner with my wife. We might watch some TV or a movie. I act like everything is fine. Then we go to sleep. If we try to have sex, I'll lose my erection, and she'll say something like, "We can try again tomorrow, don't worry." If we don't, then I just read something until I fall asleep. We go out on weekends on our own, or with her sister and her children, and I put up my everything's fine face when I really just want to drink until I die. I don't want to be separated from my daughter. Seeing her every day is what keeps me from doing something stupid. Every minute of every day, my only thought is her being F-ed by someone else. I am going crazy. If anyone can offer any advice on how to forgive infidelity and move on, I would love to hear you. TLDR, had an apparently perfect life. Wife cheated on me. Alcoholic urges resurged, starting to deal with erectile dysfunction, underachieving at work, and just generally having a SHTTY existence. Divorce is not an option. I wouldn't stand being separated from my daughter. Update as of June 3rd. Thank you everyone for your advice. I will try to address each comment individually, the ones I consider serious. For those claiming divorce is not that big of a deal, I'm sorry. But it is for me. It is a very personal opinion, I guess. And I don't see how I can just give up on 8 years of my life, especially when we're talking about a family here. I love my wife very much, regardless of what she did. I can't forgive her right now, but I want to. I have a daughter with her, and I don't want to become a weekend dad. I've taken care of her every day since she was born, and I don't want that to change. She is the most important person in my life, besides my wife, and I don't want to see her only 2 days a week, if not less. If you can't respect that, I beg you not to comment. I understand some people think differently, but the way some of you talk about it is just plain disrespectful. I don't mind hearing the opposing side as long as it's expressed in a respectful way. To those of you who shared their experience as children from divorced parents, thank you very much. Those ones definitely help and give me something to think about. Tomorrow is my daughter's 2nd birthday, so I might not be able to answer until around the same time, 11 p.m. Update. Hi everyone. You might remember me from my post 3 years ago. I decided to post an update to it since I was thinking back to this time in my life today. I ended up getting divorced. My little girl died in a car accident with my sister-in-law about 2 months after her 2nd birthday, on August 11th. After that happened, I was still too sad to even deal with my wife, so I decided to divorce her 3 months after my daughter's passing. It was a huge mess for everyone involved, took quite a while, and I got called every name you can think of for divorcing an orphan mom. I guess being an orphan dad is not that painful. I don't even know if that's the correct term, haha. But that's what I call my current situation. So anyway, I haven't heard from her ever again since our divorce was finalized. I visit my little girl's grave religiously before work, and on weekends at the same time. I used to wake her up so she won't feel like I've forgotten her. I've never seen her mom there. I don't even know if she still lives in this area anymore. Anyway, so for all of you who messaged me and wanted to know what's been up in my life, that's basically it. I'm doing great at work, so I've got that going for me, but not much else. Not everyone gets dealt a good hand in this world, but life goes on. TLDR. I did end up getting a divorce after my daughter died. Third story. OP's wife always belittles and humiliates him for the lack of employment, now slapped him in front of his daughter. Then he caught her cheating while on his work, and her affair partner contacted, apologizing. She claimed she was single. Now OP is devastated to divorce her, as she will get full custody of his daughter. I wanted to write this sooner than I expected, but only got up the courage now. I 30M married my wife 29F about 5 years ago. I always saw her as a caring, loving person who was always concerned about me. But when everything happened, She showed herself to be a completely different person. I don't know if she pretended to be that way because of our marriage. After 1 year of marriage, we had a daughter 4F. She is absolutely the love of my life. I adore her. My wife and I have always loved children. So having a daughter was like a blessing to our newly formed family. Fast forward to the future. The pandemic caused me to lose my job. My wife continued to work in an office while I did jobs anywhere possible, as my wife and I fought regularly because of this. One of these fights led to her slapping me in front of our daughter, which probably made her uncomfortable. But she didn't understand about these things, so I guess she must not even remember it. My wife always reminded me that I didn't have a job and our marriage was getting worse and worse. In a brief context, I didn't finish high school. This, at least in my country, makes it very difficult for me to find a stable job. I had tried to get a job in several places, but it never worked out. So 2 days ago, I came home early after helping to make some deliveries for extra money. I entered the house, only to see a scene that simply never left my mind. My wife was there, in the kitchen, having sex with a guy from her office. She saw me staring at the scene, completely unresponsive. She screamed in horror at the sight of me. I just wanted to walk over there and kill that guy. But I somehow managed to keep calm. I left the house with my wife's car keys in my hand since I don't have a car and needed to pick up my daughter from school. She came out of the house a few minutes later, with messy hair, tired, and with red cheeks. She was probably having sex with that guy all afternoon. She looked at me, crying, telling me that she loved me and that she was sorry. I didn't know what to say. The only thing I could ask her was, "How long have you been doing this?" To which she replied, "Please, this was the first time." I didn't know what I was thinking. It was a lie. I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't. I got into the car without saying another word, driving to my daughter's school and picking her up. I needed to relax, so I just drove to some fast food place and bought us snacks. For a few seconds, while I was eating with my daughter, I forgot what had happened. After spending an hour with my daughter, my wife texted me, saying that she loved me and was very sorry for what she had done, and that she was at a friend's house in the office so that she could relax. I didn't answer anything. I drove home, only to find that guy sitting on the sidewalk, looking down. I got out of the car and put my daughter to sleep in our former house, then got out of it. I just watched him turn around, crying, saying that he didn't know she was married. I asked him to explain, and he said that she basically lied to him. He told me that she said that she was single, and that her ex-husband lived in another state, and her daughter lived with her. He told me they never had sex in the bedroom, and that she always wanted this in the living room or the kitchen. That is why they never had sex there, since that is the only place where there were pictures of me and her together. And if he found out, he would probably freak out and stop to hook up with her. I asked him the same question I asked my wife. "How long have you been doing this?" And he answered that they had been having this affair for 3 months. I didn't know what to say. I stopped feeling my body completely. I've never been so devastated in my entire life. I told him to go home, but he told me that he didn't have a car and that my wife brought him to my former house, and she was the one who drove him home. I felt a little remorse from him. Maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe he was truly sorry. I gave him a ride to his house, but we didn't talk the whole way. When we got there, I asked him if he had anyone, if he was in a relationship. He replied that he had a girlfriend. I told him to tell her everything that happened to protect him, her, and their relationship. I said that she would probably freak out, but remembered him that he simply wouldn't be able to continue a relationship, knowing that he cheated on his girlfriend. I said that, in the end, it was his decision to tell her or not. He just agreed and got out of the car. After that, I came home to keep my daughter company. I have never been so devastated and destroyed in my entire life, and I have never cried as much as I have in the last 2 days. Now I can't think of anything else but protecting my daughter. I don't want to see that woman again in my entire life, and I hope to get a lawyer as soon as possible so that I can get a divorce. I will try to post updates whenever I can. And thank you for reading. I needed to get this off my chest and didn't want to tell my brother, who is the only person in the family that lives in my state. Also, sorry for any mistakes. I am not an English native speaker, so it is very difficult for me to write anything in this language, but I tried my best. Thanks. Edit. Since there's a bit of people confused, I did not let my daughter alone at home when I arrived at the guy's house. I called my brother to keep an eye on her. I just felt bad for the guy. Maybe he was sorry, I don't know. Edit 2. So, yeah, I felt like I needed to do this edit because there are many people talking about the fact that I drove the guy to his home. I felt bad for him. Deep in my heart, I felt truly sorry for him. So I just felt I needed to do this. And yeah, looking back, it was a parenting neglect. Even if my brother was taking care of her, I shouldn't have done this. And this will probably have a lot of effect on the divorce case. Thanks for all the comments. I will probably send an update soon. Update. I just wanted to give y'all a quick update on what's been going on. Right now, I am already contacting a lawyer about what all happened. And he said that my situation isn't so good, and that I will probably never get 100% of my daughter's custody. And the best option is to try to get 50-50 custody, which I accepted immediately. I want my daughter to still see her mom, because that could be too traumatic for her to handle her mom just disappearing from her life like that. Thanks for reading my comments, and I will stop editing this post, because I don't know if Reddit has a character limit on these posts. So if anything new comes up, I will update in another post. And BTW, thanks y'all for the kind words and comments. I felt really appreciated, and all those advices helped me a lot. Thanks y'all. Farewell, Semper Fi. Update. My soon-to-be ex-wife cheated on me 20 days ago or so. Our divorce is destroying me. I don't have my mind in the most sane state now to explain the backstory. I just need to vent. If you are curious, my first post can be found in my profile. To start, I'm getting so angry and empty recently. I thought to myself, oh wow, I'm getting the divorce. I'm leaving my cheating wife, and I'm going to be so much happier. But no, I was wrong. I am feeling bad and angry. I just want to punch somebody in the face. My SDBXW is literally making herself the victim in the story. And now all my friends are on her side. I just feel more betrayed now. My brother is trying his best to lift me up, but I can't handle it either. He just keeps saying that everything will be all right, and she doesn't deserve you. When he says those things, I just wish I could scream that no, everything's not going to be all right. I'm getting so furious recently that I literally thought about punching my own brother, the guy who is supporting me the most. I just can't handle all those feelings, and I'm getting more and more afraid. It's like the world is against me for some reason I can't understand. I don't know why I am getting this punishment. God must be angry at me for some reason. Every time that I wake up, I just wish everything ended, and I wish everything went back to normal. But no, it will not get back to normal. My life is destroyed because of my STBXW, and she thinks that she did nothing wrong. She is showing her true self, and I can't handle it. I can't even eat properly anymore, and now I started smoking again. I just ignored the fact that I almost died years ago because of my reckless smoking, which just drives me more insane. I won't be posting any more updates here because I am 100% sure that my STBXW will win this divorce. I just wish that I hadn't caught her cheating. I wish I was a better husband and father. I feel angry, sad, and destroyed. I don't know what to do. When I'm not trying to just destroy everything around me, those thoughts about just disappearing start to kick in. I don't know what to do. To be honest, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't just jump from a high place. Secret voice. Hey bud, I don't know if you're watching this video or not, but if you are, please stay strong. At least try to fight for your daughter. From what you've said, I'm pretty sure she'll neglect your daughter, even if she gets full custody. So, there's a chance for you to fight for your rights. Please try to get a stable job, clear your system, and do this for your daughter. All the best. Thank you again to everyone who commented on my last post. I appreciate the support, and also the comments that made some great points about how each of us has different perspectives. And I need to be more understanding of his values, and not just mine.